Today we are joined by the incredible Patrina Wisdom, a true embodiment of resilience and determination. From tragedy to triumph, Patrina's journey is a powerful reminder of our capacity for growth and transformation. So join us as we explore her latest book, Anatomy of Abundance. Don't go away. We'll be right back with the Writer's Corner live show.
Imagine a world where the lines of reality blur with the fantastical. Embark on journeys from humble beginnings to the pinnacles of literary greatness. On the Writer's Corner, we delve into the lives of unique wordsmiths, known for their compelling storytelling. They are artisans who craft fantastical realms, etched in our memory long after the final page is turned. Every tale begins with a single word, a single idea. Authors create sensations that keep you on the edge of your seat. Witness how they transform setbacks into stepping stones, use refusals to spark growth, and turn rejections into catalysts for new inspiration. Witness the diversity in writing as it gives birth to a vast array of genres, from drama to mystery to children's stories, fantasy, and reality. Join us as we uncover sources of inspiration and the magic that defines the author's craft. Find out how authors breathe life into their characters and meticulously craft narratives and plots that captivate readers. Get a sneak peek into upcoming works, and join us as we celebrate literary greatness, only on the Writer's Corner. We don't just celebrate best-selling Amazon and New York Times authors, but also indie authors. Join us on the journey from the birth of a tale to the creation of a masterpiece, only on the Writer's Corner live show. Stay tuned.
If you are just joining us, then welcome to the Writer's Corner live show. If you're not yet following us on social media, please do so, because that way you'll get notified next time we go live. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Bridgetti Lim Banda from Cape Town in South Africa, and our amazing guest today is Patrina Wisdom. Our live stream is brought to you by Creative Edge, StreamYard, and Be Live Media. But before we invite our guest, Patrina, to come and join us, I first want to say hello to my friend and co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. She's a 5-time #1 best-selling author and certified special needs and disability advocate, dedicated to empowering underrepresented voices through her writing and advocacy. Mary's also a speaker, educator, ghostwriter, and songwriter, and she brings a very unique energy and expertise to our show. So, Mary, welcome. How are you today?
I'm good.
Without any further ado, let's welcome our amazing guest today. If you have not yet met Patrina Wisdom, she is an author, speaker, and movement leader who has overcome the most incredible adversity to create a life of abundance and purpose. She's also the creator of the Badass Bodacious movement. She empowers others to do the same through her 6-step wisdom system. So, without any further ado, let's invite her to come and join us, shall we?
Hi, Patrina. How are you, girl?
Hi, everybody. I love the whole audience. I'm like, oh, look at that. We got a packed house today.
I know.
Welcome.
Gosh, love your name. I love your name. Just, you have to be speaking wisdom in the world when you have a name like that. We're going to jump right in because we have so much to ask you. And this is the first time you've been our guest on Writer's Corner Live. And so we're so excited to have you here. What inspired you to create the 6-step wisdom system, and how has it impacted your life and others? Because I know it's a very important part of what you do.
Yes, absolutely. It actually ties in with my name as well. So I am someone who was born to a very young mother. She had me at 16 years old. And so her and I kind of grew up together. And with that, coming from a family of very strong, beautiful women, mostly women, like 1 male to 5 women in my family, I never really saw examples of like happy marriages and, you know, abundance and wealth building and things of that nature. So I kind of grew up with this idea that I wouldn't do any of it. I wouldn't get married. I wouldn't have kids. I've always been a free spirit and very entrepreneurial. I actually haven't had a job since high school. So with that said, fast forward, at 15 years old, I met a man and I fell in love. And as it goes, you know, everything kind of shifts and changes. And so through our love, we ended up purchasing the house and creating our life together. We had 3 children. And just, I fell in love with being a mom. I fell in love with being a wife. And at the same time, I never let go of my own identity. So I was still this, you know, entrepreneurial, free-spirited woman. And I was just in this bubble of bliss where I also had that masculine protection. And then in 2009, I woke up one morning, my husband was in the financial industry, and this was right after the fall of the market in 2008. Woke up one morning, he gives me and my 3 children at the time a kiss goodbye, tells us he loves us, and walks out the door knowing that he was not ever going to come home again. Unbeknownst to me, you know, I go about my day. I actually found out that day, I went to the doctors and found out that I was pregnant with my 4th child. So I'm texting him, I'm calling him. I'm so excited to tell him the news because we had suspected and received no response all day long. Right about 10, 11 o'clock PM, I knew something was wrong. And so, you know, I get that gut feeling where I know something is terribly wrong and I'm starting to just swirl, you know. I woke up the next morning to find out that my husband had actually taken his own life. So now I find myself overnight blindsided as a now single mother, pregnant with my 4th child, full-time entrepreneur. And on top of that, I also inherited his financial business upon his passing. So it was a lot. And again, I didn't come from a background of, you know, marriage and this whole white picket fence life. I also never grew up with financial education and had no roadmap on how to create abundance. So fortunately, my husband had kind of forced me to learn the financial concepts for personal finance. And so I was able to step in, but it was a whole world. I had never sat with clients. I didn't really know the back end of the business. And so it was in that moment where I had a choice. I like to say that I can choose to be a victim, which I had every right to be the victim if I wanted to choose that path, or I could focus on the gifts that would reveal themselves from his passing and become a victor over my situation. And so obviously that's what I chose. I made a vow to myself that I was going to make it no matter what, that I was going to prove to myself and everyone around me that you can move through tragedy, the worst tragedies, and become a victor over your situation. And I wanted to be the model for that, for other women, for what that looked like, to be able to live fully as who you are, take care of your responsibilities, honor the passing, you know, the person who passed away or whatever that situation was, and still thrive and live in abundance. And so that's where this all came from. The name itself, Patrina Wisdom, is not my birth name. It's my chosen name. After my husband passed, I no longer resonated with my maiden name. And after some time, a couple years, I say, okay, it's time to release my married name. And yet my identity was no longer in alignment with anything else. And so I just chose my name based on the experiences I had had, because the losing of my husband was the catalyst to who I am today. But there were so many other traumas leading up into that point.
Wow. God bless you. Our hearts go out to you, Patrina.
Thank you.
You are a warrior.
Yes. Yes. And I actually I'm glad you said that, because there's this perception with strong people in general, but specifically women, we nourish and take care of everybody. You know, we have this like, come hell or high water, we're going to make it work. We're going to protect our children. We're going to do what it takes. And sometimes it's that very energy and that very mindset that actually creates more struggle for us. And this is something that took decades for me to really learn and embrace, that I don't always have to be strong, because what happens is when I'm the strongest one in the tribe, then people discount my emotions, my pain. They think, oh yeah, Patrina's got it, right? And then I start to feel isolated and alone. So it's been a process of learning, like, how do I own my strength and still melt into being a feminine woman that is able to receive help, to receive love, to receive support, and also to surrender to the ebbs and flows of life. And that's true abundance. Abundance is not like, okay, I've got it all figured out. I've got all the money. I'm happy all the time. No, it's really like how we approach obstacles and our ability to really stay grounded and centered, knowing that we're always taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
That's quite an important thing that you mentioned there, because, you know, people do tend to take you for granted if you seem to be okay externally.
Yes.
And, you know, you've made it. So they kind of, oh, she's had it easy.
Yes.
You know, they don't really know your struggles. They don't see the back reels of what it took for you to get to where you are. But having been through all the challenges that you have and having created what you call a bodacious, badass life, what advice would you give to someone who is currently struggling with self-doubt and fear and trying to break free from that limitation?
I love this question. So what I did during my process of I won't call it recovery, but I'll call it like reconstruction, reimagining my life, reconstructing myself after this huge shift, is that I started documenting everything I was doing to get myself out of that space and how I was staying on track and being able to move forward. So the first thing is that it starts with your self-esteem and your self-worth. It also starts with reconnecting with the truth of who you are. So you mentioned my wisdom system. My wisdom system has actually now been rebranded to be the Anatomy of Abundance framework, which is to use wisdom. And the wisdom system, and I think it's the system for everything. It's the system for how to live your life. It's your system for how to approach love. It's your system for, you know, navigating challenges in business, all of it, parenthood. The W in that system stands for who are you? So really taking a pause to reconnect with the truth of who you are, not what society, your parents, the patriarchy tell you should be, but the truth of who you are, and really lean into that. The I in the system is identify. So identifying the disempowering stories, patterns, maybe generational trauma and patterns, and also your habits that are keeping you in a cycle. The S is sacred self-care. If I had not practiced sacred self-care after the passing of my husband, I would have gone nuts. And women often have a hard time embracing and taking time for themselves because of the guilt, right? We put everybody else first. So sacred self-care is impeccably caring for yourself as if you are the divine, because we are a representation, a physical representation of the divine. So that's mind, body, and spirit. The D in the system is to then declare, I know I've been living as this. I know I've been accepting the, you know, this way that you speak to me or this way that you engage with me in relationship. And that's no longer a thing. The truth of who I am is this. And then retraining the people that are in your life how to engage with you. So that's the D, declare, like make a bold statement. And then the O is organize. So now that I know who I am, I've identified and reframed disempowering stories, patterns, and beliefs. Now I'm going to organize my life in a way that supports the truth of who I am. So whether that's scheduling, whether that's hiring support, whatever that looks like, I'm organizing my life to support the truth of who I am. And then move into action with accountability and support. And so that's the step where we're not only hiring coaches and mentors and consultants and people that support us in that way, professionals, maybe psychologists, but it's also identifying your tribe and really aligning with people that are on the same vibration, that are in the same mindset, and that are moving in the direction that you're moving into, which hopefully is one of abundance. So with that process, there's going to be people who fall off. So just recognizing that that's part of your growth, and each stage that we elevate to, not everyone's going to be able to go with us. So learning how to lovingly release them so that we can continue to ascend. And so that's the Anatomy of Abundance framework. That's really what the entire book is based on, is the Anatomy of Abundance framework. And what it is it's really bringing together and integrating the higher laws, or the more feminine laws, with the foundational laws, or more masculine energy, right? So the spiritual, the mindset, the psychology, brought together with the action, strategy, and community piece.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I love, especially I love the part about, like, once you own yourself and you come out of like old behaviors or old patterns and beliefs, and you've got to retrain the people around you. Cause I know I've been in that space for a little while with certain people, and it's just like, that's really just not going to work for me anymore. And it's not healthy. So you got to stop doing it, and I think we have to do that with our kids.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. What?
I said it comes down to communication, like the way that we communicate. And so I just want to make it very clear, because sometimes training the people around you sounds a little like harsh. It is. We're retraining, we're redirecting is what we're doing, but we really want to come from a place of love and empathy and grace. So it's not something that happens overnight, but it is learning how to have clear communication, really setting expectations, and then also extending grace, because things don't change overnight.
No, they don't. And we have to be patient. So, yeah. Okay. In your book, you discuss the importance of self-expression, which you have been sharing with us through our conversation so far. Can you share an example how this is played out in your own life?
Yes, 100%. So believe it or not, I'm such a big, personality, and I take up so much space in the room now. But growing up, I'm this 6 foot tall, light-skinned Black girl with green eyes. People didn't know what to do with me, right? I walk in the room and they're like, whoa. And so back then I was very, very insecure, because I didn't know why people were staring at me. Nobody was like, oh, you're so beautiful, or oh my God, or you're so tall. No one ever identified why they were staring at me and why they were almost off put. So I translated that as, I'm ugly, I don't fit in, nobody wants, And so I was very insecure. I became a people pleaser. So I just wanted to keep the peace. I didn't really use my voice. I didn't want to disrupt anything. And I would just shrink myself, shrink my light, literally physiologically shrink myself to fit in. And it wasn't until I started undoing those patterns that I realized a lot of the challenges that I had in relationship before owning the truth of who I am and really unapologetically walking in that was because I was basically lying to people about who I was. And so I was attracting the folks that were looking to be around that type of a person, a people pleaser, someone who could be a doormat, right? Someone who's going to go to bat for them and take care of everything and control everything and make it better, right? Save them essentially. But the truth is, no one's coming to save us. So once I shifted, my entire friend group, the way that my family and I interacted with, everything shifted. Because when you show up as the truth of who you are, it becomes an automatic filter for the people that will or won't into your life. And so by holding that impeccable self-care, those boundaries, and just walking in that queenship, if you will, that queendom, you start to attract the most amazing people because your vibrations match. So my circle, global circle, looks completely different than it did 20 years ago.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, you've got a pure abundance retreat that provides a safe space for women to break free from that scarcity mindset. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, thank you for asking that. So after the passing of my husband, again, I was pregnant with my 4th child. I had the 3 children and 2 businesses that I was running. Oh, by the way, I'm also a professional singer in my previous life. So I was actually performing at night during this time. Crazy. I had literally checked out. I was running on automatic. And so I believe what saved me, because that could have been a very destructive path, just being in hustle culture, you know, working in automatic and like never really taking time to stop and feel. What I did is I ended up finally, after my baby was like 10 months old, taking a retreat in Bali. And when I did that, I spent 10 days in Bali, really just reconnecting myself, earth, finally dealing with my grief and starting to reconstruct and reimagine my life. And so I made a vow to myself at that point that I would do that for other women. And so I started doing it on a smaller scale, like home gatherings and different things like that. I also have a background, 10 years plus as a massage therapist and esthetician. So I've always loved to pamper people and take care of people. So I started doing it on a small scale. And then I moved to San Diego in 2013 and started hosting sacred self-care retreats. What happened then, though, is that I said, you know what, I want to take this international. I'm a traveler. And what I know is that you can't be a prophet in your own land. So people wanted to come to my retreats, but they always wanted to negotiate or lowball me to come to my retreats. And at that point, I knew my worth and my value. And I knew that what we were offering was transformational. So 7 years ago, I started Pure Abundance Retreat. I started it in Belize, and I did that for 6 years straight before expanding it to other countries. And so my favorite thing is to watch people, first off, say yes to themselves through saying yes to the retreat. I actually have people apply, I have conversation with them, I find out their intention, I learn about them, and then I craft the retreat to meet their intentions. And so I just love it because I hear every excuse in the world for why they can't come, but once they decide they're going to do it, that's when the transformation starts. So I see them come in on day one, maybe they're battling fears, maybe they're, thinking about their kids and all the things that they're not doing at home. And by the end, these women look like they had a facelift, like they look completely different. Their energy, their face, their excitement, their vitality, everything shifts. And so this year, I've actually turned my Pure Abundance Retreat into a membership so that women can prioritize and schedule their self-care regularly. And I've also started tying in mastermind for the business part because all of my friends are entrepreneurs and we love to do both. So what does it look like to take care of yourself, your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, and be in these communities that may not be accessible to all of the ladies in different areas, right? So really aligning with that community that's going to support you moving forward.
That is just beautiful. Absolutely. How it just seems like everything has been orchestrated in your life from like,
yes.
It just really, it really has. And
it's like you were in my head.
And you said yes to yourself. Like you're helping these other ladies.
Yes. I said yes to myself, but I'll tell you what it really is I said yes to spirit. Because when my husband passed, that was the ultimate surrender moment for me because I was pissed. I was like, what the right? Because I was the good girl. I always did everything right. I never, hurt anyone. Like I'm following all the rules, God, what the hell? Why me? But then I turned that why me into why not me, right? Because I know what I can do with this on the other side. So this has all been orchestrated by spirit. I never saw myself here. I thought I'd be performing on Broadway for the rest of my life and never thought I'd write books, never thought I'd be speaking on stages or hosting retreats, none of it. So once I surrendered, everything else started to unfold accordingly.
It's amazing, perspective is everything. I was just listening to you saying, flipping that why me, because I recently met a lady on TikTok who is paralyzed. She was paragliding just after COVID. And the line, her husband shouted at her. He was just ahead of her. And there was a line there that shouldn't have been there. And it hit her legs and she's now paralyzed. And, she went through that same process and she said, like, why me? And, she had this pity party, rightly so. And then she realized, but the lady behind her, even though her children were young at the time, the lady behind her had a tiny baby. And she thought to herself, if it wasn't me, it would have been that lady with the tiny baby. So,
Yeah.
I can't do this. I need to move forward. So it's a very important step that trying to flip or to reframe what happened.
It is. And society doesn't really teach us grace, and it doesn't teach us acceptance. It doesn't teach us surrender or what real strength is, right? We have all these false narratives on what strength looks like. And so I just feel like those of us who are able to acknowledge and embrace those things and really figure out how to navigate moving forward, then it shows other people that it's possible, and it gives them a model to follow, right? So Tony Robbins likes to say, and I don't know if he's the originator of this, but he says, you know, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And it's true. If we really take the time to look at everything that happens in our life, it's like we learned something from it, we grew from it, or like you said, maybe something happened to me to save someone else. So there's just this bigger picture that we don't stop to kind of, what do they say, 6,000 foot view, to go to elevate and look and see what's really going on, because most of us are so grounded in this 3D, you know, reality and just the hustle and bustle and the devices and the distractions. So I like to say we're living by default, most people. So we want to get back in the driver's seat and start to intentionally navigate our lives and our businesses instead of living by default.
And we also have to go in and we have to talk to our young people. We have to get to them because their narrative is a total unrealism, complete.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And so we have got to, no matter how many eye rolls, no matter how much they fight us, no matter how much they don't want to listen, no matter whatever it is, that's our responsibility to just keep going, keep talking, keep providing that guidance, keep providing those words, keep providing that love and that grace and that place for them to, at some point, they finally realize, oh, okay, so none of that's like really real. Because I've had that experience with my girls, you know, they're young adults now. And so they're like, oh, wow. Okay. So that really, you know, not that it was anything bad, but it was just, it's that example. Real quick, because I know we're going to have to go. How do you hope your book and message will inspire and empower others to take ownership of their lives and create a life of true abundance and prosperity? And you've really touched on a lot of that, but can you give us like a couple of gold nuggets?
Yes. So I don't even feel like this book was written to be an inspiration. It was written to be a guide, right? So I look at our book, Anatomy of Abundance, which has 14 additional contributing authors speaking to, so it's different voices, different stories, different experiences, but also with the expertise sprinkled in there. And so I look at this book to be something like Think and Grow Rich, where it's a guide that you revisit and that you go to, you know, whatever section you need to be working on at that time. And also I'm going to be doing a part 2, volume 2, and volume 2 will start to drill down on specific things. So that one will be redefining your relationship with love, sex, and money. And so, again, this is a guide. It's more of a how-to. So I suggest everybody get the book and start at the beginning and just chunk down, but focus, or just open it intuitively to the chapter that might be calling to you at that moment. But it's something we should be revisiting on a regular basis and shedding light on where our blind spots are so that we can start to grow in those areas. Because like I said, growth doesn't happen overnight. There's duality where, you know, things might be going really great in your life, and at the same time, there's this one thing that's just nagging at you. It could be unresolved grief. It could be everything's great in your life except for your relationship with your spouse or your children. So I look at the book more as a companion. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. We loved having you. Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Patrina. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We've got to have you back. Just hold your cover up quickly, just while we say goodbye to our friends. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you back next week on another episode of the Writer's Corner live show. Thank you for joining us on the Writer's Corner live show. 30 minutes of insightful author conversations with some of the biggest names in the industry, including award-winning authors and international indie sensations. Join us on the next episode of the Writer's Corner live show.